Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for meeting on this kind of cold Monday afternoon. Um, we are we're over halfway through our school year, so that's exciting. I know my kids are super excited to celebrate their 100th day of school last week, so we're getting there. And so there were no public comments this week, so we can skip right over that. Does anyone have any gratitude or appreciation they would like to share this week or this month?
I would like to appreciate Bria, who is helping out in my classroom. She went into a breakout room and entertained kids for about an hour today, and it was so helpful. So thank you, Bria, again for doing that.
You're welcome. And I would like to shout out grounds committee. They've done so much and they're currently doing so much to keep up with all of the maintenance on the field and everything, especially as it's still getting a lot of use from everyone. I guess people are kind of tired of being cooped up in their houses. I know last supply pickup, it was kind of rocking with all the people on the playground. So it's nice that we have that. And thanks grounds for putting in all that hard work. Give me 1 second. Thanks, Bria. You'll hear more about it soon. Thanks. Anyone else? Give me 1 second. I need to resend the Zoom link to if I can find it. While I'm doing that, is there any hello? Oh, sorry, good. Is there any changes to the January board meeting that need to be made? And to the board meeting minutes that need to be made? All right. Well, hearing no changes, I move that we approve those by consent.
Do you need a second?
Nope, that's it. I'm just trying to also send something to Megan so she can get into our Zoom call. Because she's our next person on the agenda. And also I just wanted to check to make sure January action items is just to remind teachers to submit receipts for classroom funds. We had most teachers haven't used any of their classroom funds. We've had a few teachers use a good portion of it, but like I think it's like 5 or so. So it's not like a lot that have used their classroom funds. And reminders, teachers get $200 for their classroom each year. And so those funds are still available. We are waiting on Megan for fundraising, but while we're doing that, Teddy, are you here? Do you want to just go ahead and do the financial report?
I'm sorry, Bria. It sounded like you were reaching out to me. I was having trouble with my headphones.
Oh yeah, I said, do you want to? We're waiting for Megan to be able to log on. Do you want to go ahead and do the financial report?
I will be glad to. And yeah, just to second what you said about teacher reimbursements, we've hardly had any. So yeah, it's great. The sooner the better, and that just allows us to finish our budget year sooner if we do it. I think last year a bunch were done on literally the last day, so that just rolls over into the new year, and it takes time to figure out what our dollar amount will be for the following fiscal year. So once again, any expenses for anybody, whether it's teacher expenses or anything, the sooner they can get in, the better in terms of next year budgeting it is for us. So let me bring up the financials. I will share my screen. So as usual, I always start with the balance sheet. That shows That shows what, and can everybody see that all right? I can blow it up a little bit so everybody can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, and currently we have a cash balance of a little over $84,000. Most of that is in our checking account over at Bank of America. We also have a little bit with PayPal at this point. Most of the money that that the fundraising team did has already been transferred from PayPal over to our Bank of America account, but there's still a little bit over there. So we're at $84,000. So that's what we have on hand, and scrolling down, you can see how that is divvied up by the different funds. Most of it, 50,000 plus, is in our general fund. That's where most of our activity happens. We also have the Leo fund, which there's still money in it, but no more money's coming into that. We have the media center holding balance. That's where all the Scholastic book sales, that's where the money goes into that, and it's paid out of that. And we also have the reserve fund balance. As I've mentioned before, national and state guidelines recommend that we keep at least half to a year's of expenditures in that. Based on how we're spending this year, actually 27,000 looks like it should be pretty sufficient going forward. So we have $84,000 on hand. And I will bring up the income statement. And the income statement shows money coming in and also money going out. In terms of money going out, it was a very quiet month. Oh,
I think you're going to need to switch over your screen.
Sure.
You're fine.
Hang on. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'll blow it up a little bit. Oops, too much. So yeah, so the income statement from the beginning of the fiscal year until yesterday, so that's through January, shows the money that's come in and the money that's gone out. We also put a line for annual budget to see how we're doing on actual amounts in this column versus the budgeted amount. So as I was mentioning before, I didn't bring this up. We are it was a quiet month in terms of money going out. I think we had a little less than $300 in terms of expenditures that I reimbursed folks for and pre-approved. We did have about in January we had about $2,800 come into the annual fund, and we also got paid for the family portrait fundraiser. So we got 2 checks in the amount of close to $1,815. If you see here, that amount's a lot higher. That's because we got paid from last year, this year, which makes it a little bit confusing. But in terms of this year, we outperformed the budget number, which was $1,500, and we raised, like I said, about $1,815. So not much activity this month, except for the $2,800 received to the annual fund and the $1,815 coming into the photo fundraiser. So I don't know if people have had a chance to look at this before the meeting. I didn't know if anybody has any questions. I'm always happy to answer any questions about the financials. And they are posted to the minutes if you want to go and look at them. I always post a link there that includes both the balance sheet and the income statement.
Thank you, Teddy.
Sure.
All right, Megan, I see you're on. Do you want to do fundraising now? We kind of skipped over you while we waited for you to log on.
Thank you. Sorry about that, you guys. I don't know how I missed the Zoom link, but anyways, hey, good to see everybody. I'm Megan for fundraising. Kristen can't be here tonight. I think she had a small little emergency, but everything's okay. But to fill you in on the Book It event, That's going to be a fundraiser. It's not, our goal is not really fundraising. It's actually more of like a project. We're trying to get more books into the hands of our students. So we are working with Regulator Bookshop to make discounted books available for individual family sales, but for also to work with classrooms. If different classrooms want to have, like, say maybe like a wish list or something that they would like every one of their students to have, then we'll be working with individual teachers to do that. We've had some parents and teachers complete the survey that we sent out on the PTA website for different books that they recommended to be on a list. We're hoping to generate lists for each of the grade levels. And somebody put out a recommendation to contact the librarian at Lakewood, and that was a really good idea. She's kind of pointing me in the direction of a couple of other resources. So hopefully when Kristen and I compile that list of books, I'd love to send it out to the teachers just to get a last minute, like, yay or nay, because that's not really my area of expertise right there. But we're hoping to do this in March, the first week in March, and couple it with just like maybe some seesaw activities, or just having teachers hopefully just promote reading through some sort of activity. We realize teachers are already doing so much, so we didn't really want to ask for too much, but we were hoping to reach out to teachers to just encourage just like one or two little activities to promote reading that week. But then we're also hoping to do a school-wide jam board. And this is a link that every child in the school could go to and post them reading a book or a picture of their book or whatever they would like to share. It might be really cool to have all the students be able to share and post and see what other kids enjoy. Would love to hear anybody's feedback if they have any suggestions or comments on that. You can always email us, and we're very much in the beginning stages of that. Some other things for fundraising. We were wanting in 2021 school year to start off with a needs assessment, or whatever we want to call it, for our families. We would just love to have some better idea from the families and from the parents what they want to see us fundraising for. There's obviously things that we have to have, like teacher subscriptions and things like that. But we would still love to put some of our efforts back into the hands of the parents and the teachers to see what it is they're passionate about. This past year, we've run into some fundraising ethics and just like, do we raise funds for this? Everybody's got projects. What's priority? What's not? What are families interested in? What are not? So we just really feel the call to hear from the general family membership on what they want us to spend our efforts on next year. Because I don't want it to be like me or Kristen or anything, saying what we're fundraising for. So I know we're not talking about that right now, but I just kind of wanted to put that out there because I know we kind of probably need to start thinking about that sooner than later. So we'll, I'll bring that back up with Bria and at a future date. But if anybody has any questions or wants to be a part of that, I would love to hear from you guys. But that's it.
Thanks, Megan. Did you want to talk about, you had mentioned you'd emailed me about an SPNI request, if you think that's necessary, or what you think for funds, what you were thinking for funds, because I don't know if we need to do an SPNI request or if we need to do something else, but if you want to speak on why you would need funds.
Oh, thanks for that, Bria. Sorry, you guys. So The book event, we want to be able to provide classrooms that want to have a classroom wish list. So say like Miss Watson, Amanda, if you wanted to have a classroom wish list for your class and you put 4 books on there, and on the regulator website, they have an ability to be able to show, each of these 4 books, we need 12 copies for everybody to be able to have one. Well, say, they came up with like 7 books short or whatever. We wouldn't want that to impact them not being able to meet their goals. So since this is a literacy type event where we're trying to work on a little bit of supplies, we were hoping that no classroom could come up short, and we would just make up the difference in either an SPNI request to pay for the extra amount. We really just don't want classrooms that really want to use this as a supply type of event to be impacted or to put the burden on the families. I think we are going to ask families first to fulfill the need, but if they can't, then we have this SPNI request. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts or concerns about that.
I think it's a great idea. It would be great, especially I'm thinking like older grades having reading groups and wanting, the same novel to be read. It sounds like a really great idea, and it'd be great if we have the money to spend on that to do it. So I say yes, that should be spent for that. That's my vote.
I think it's a great idea. I wonder, can we use, this might be a Teddy question, does this fall under pandemic response, and is this just something that we can just use the pandemic funds for? Because right now we spent, I think Teddy's number was like $1,300 to $1,500 of that money. Maybe it's 11, I don't know. And so we have and we have like $11,000 in that fund right now. I'm not saying to like spend $11,000, but we do have the money there. So I'm wondering if we can just pull it from that, if need be. And that way, like at least each kid we can guarantee that each kid gets at least 1 book. I think that should be our thing. Like at least each kid gets at least 1 book that their teacher gets to do, that their teacher chooses, so that they have like a class set of 1 book. They all want to do like a read aloud for older grades, or even like reading groups with like younger groups. I think it's a great idea, and I'm down to do that. And I'll just talk out the logistics with Teddy when it comes down to like where that money needs to come from, and if we need to do an SPNI request, or this is just a pull from the pandemic fund, because Teddy just said we spent slightly over $1,600 of the $11,000, so we have $9,400 around there to spend. Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Thanks for that. Thanks you and Kristen for these great ideas. And I, like Amanda said, any idea to get more books in the kids' hands is great. And I think that's what the PTA is here for. It's to really serve our children and meet their needs. And I think I actually was emailing with the librarian today, and that seems to be also an issue, is the fact that like kids they're not getting books every week like they normally would. So I like this idea. Okay, moving on, or circling back around actually. I also got an email today about that this falls under budget needs, about, what is it called? Oh no. What are you, equity trainings? Yeah, they're called something else. But I was like, equity trainings for staff, because we professional development, that's the line it falls under. Because we actually very early on in the pandemic, because of the book study that the teachers did, we kind of maxed out that goal, because we spent, I think, like $2,500 on books for all the staff. And so I got an email from Amber Crispell, who's our restorative practice coordinator at Watts, asking about, and I think she's also on the equity team at Watts, asking about money for that, for I think a training. And so she said that she's willing to fill out an SPNI form for that if everyone is cool, or she's willing to fill out an SPNI request, which is fine, or we can find money in the budget and move it back into that professional development line. So I'm wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I always have a lot of opinions, guys, sorry. But if we move money around, don't we need a general vote or whatever again, right? Isn't that the problem?
Mm-hmm.
So I just say,
yeah. So if we move money around, we'll just, yeah. So if we move money around, we'll have to vote in March. We have a meeting in March. That's the next one you didn't talk about. And which we're going to have to vote in March anyway, because Rachel's going to talk about moving money into family involvement. So we're going to have to do a budget vote anyway. But we could, what was I saying? But if there's an SPNI, then we also have to vote. We have to vote as a board, but that's easy to do through a Google Doc form, a Google form. So I'm okay with either. And this way we have exactly what, we know exactly the amount of money, because she would get that thing from, I think it's a We Are training or something.
Well,
so I'm fine.
Yeah. No, I think I remember from past years though, that like whatever the budget line is, it's good to be consistent, because then the following year, you know, if you want to have that money to use again. So did the money that was there, what was the budget for it last year? Was it reduced and we're wanting to increase that budget line, or, you know what I mean? Like, so for next year, it have to be a whole new thing. Okay.
It's a new budget line that we put in this year because we realized all the SPNI requests we got last year were for professional development. So we just created a professional development line so that we didn't have to keep going to the SPNI, because it wasn't really a special project or a new initiative at that point. It was just what it was. So it's new. So we were kind of figuring out how much money. I don't remember how much we spent last year on professional development, but I think it was like close to like $3,000 or $4,000. And I think this year we budgeted for $3,000 or $4,000. Teddy would know better than I do because I don't have the budget right in front of me. So I think this year the book study took up a big chunk of that money, and then we sent 4 teachers to 2 different conferences. I think we spent 2 to a Montessori conference and 2 to a Montessori racial justice and then 2 of them had We Are training. I do know we paid for We Are in the spring for 2 teachers. In the fall, sorry. So it's just kind of, we budgeted $3,000. So we spent $3,000 this year, and like 2,500 that went to the books. So we pretty much spent about 500 on like other professional development. So I'm good with either. I'm good with either having her fill out an SPNR request for it, or just finding money, another line in the budget, and moving some stuff over. But I don't want to just make the decision myself. I want input from you all.
Up the budget.
Okay.
Is this seminar going to be like per teacher, per participant, or is it just a like kind of flat fee for the training itself, and whoever chooses to attend is just covered in that blanket cost?
That is a good question, and I need to reach out to Amber and get more details. So here's what we can do. We can do this vote over email if it needs to be moved. I'll get more details from Amber, and then I'll send it to the board, and then we can vote. We can make motion, second, vote through a doodle poll about moving money once we get to that point. I do want to get she didn't send a number, so I do want to get more of a number from her before I'm like, yes, we can do this. But I just wanted to put that on your radar, because I don't know, because it could be like, this is $500 for all the teachers, or it could be like it's $100 per teacher, which would change things a lot. I think last time we paid per teacher because it wasn't like it wasn't for just Watts teachers. And so checking over those details would be great.
Hey, Bria, just so I'm clear, like We budgeted 3,000. We spent 2,500.
3,000.
We've spent 3,000.
No, we spent 3,000 because we spent 2,500 on books, and then we paid for We Are, and we paid for a Montessori racial conference, and we paid for, I think, books for we paid for like leadership training for a couple of I think admin. So
Gotcha. So just figuring out how much more they really need.
Yeah, I think there's like $7 left in that budget or something. We hit it really close. And yeah, so I will follow up. I'm going to follow up with Amber and then be on the lookout for an email from me probably in the next few days discussing this, and then we can move on from there. Okay. And next is our March 8th PTA meeting. So do we want, I guess the first question is, do we want to do some type of programming at this meeting? Like, is there anything that needs to happen that we want to happen? And normally we would do programming at PTA meetings. We would like do themed, but this year also feels kind of weird and most people are kind of zoomed out and kind of just want to get in and out. So I think just doing our normal like update of what's going on, our budget, we need to, our budget reconciliation and vote if need be. And yeah, any spring, and I guess any spring fundraiser updates that y'all want to give, but I don't think we need to find programming, but I could be in minority. So if anyone else has any ideas on this or any thoughts on what the March PTA meeting should look like, please feel free. Oh, so quiet. Awesome.
Hey, Bria, I don't know. I mean, just my point of view, as I feel like people are just like done with some things, and that's like right before spring break, or I think right around spring break. I don't know. I mean, I always enjoy hearing like what primary kids can be doing, like what are some things that you can be working on at home, but like anything other than that, like I don't know. I think just our normal budget, just our normal meeting would be great.
Yeah, which we can ask them to do Montessori moment. We could ask the PLCs to prepare something for that. Which is,
and
I think what
how
you're
many
talking
meetings
about.
how many meetings are left after this one? After this March one?
After March, we have a May. It's
Just
March and May, and then we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a planner, obviously, and if there's any information from the school or teachers about how we're wrapping up the year, you know, like, so we're not going until the end because we're stacking up those snow days or something, right? Something like that, like it's ending earlier this
June
year.
4th, I think it's June 4th is the last day of school because we started a week earlier.
Right, and anything like EOGs are happening or not, I don't know. You know, like any kind of what's going on at the end of the year. Oh, you don't know. Well, we don't know either. Okay. Well, I've even saying like I have no idea how we're ending the year, but
I think you make a good point, Joanna. I mean, I think at the very least we could do calendar updates, like here's what's going to happen, you know, the last 2 months. I also think it would be a good opportunity if we're going to do the book fundraiser, and every kid is eventually, you know, going to have at least one book, which I think is wonderful. Then we could maybe tie that into just having someone talk about like, this is how you make read alouds interesting at home, or here's how you can take reading a book to your child like to the next level. Just kind of giving general tips about how to read books with kids, or how to make it maybe more enticing for older students to read to their families. Yeah, and you know, March is typically a pretty big month for us with reading and incentives and all of that. So I think, you know, we could possibly, it wouldn't take long, but just, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, 5 per level of you know, how to re-spark that interest for reading and make that, you know, make that final push.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Anybody-
That's a great idea.
I would love to talk about maybe have, maybe this might be something to cover under Rachel's thing, but I would love to talk about kind of what parents can do in the final month. I know final months is a lot of celebrations and stuff. Like we start teacher appreciation, is it the first week in May? But something about that, talking about getting parents, I guess, prepped for that, because prep seems like the wrong word. But something like that, like talking about what's to come from the PTA in the next few months, because we are going to have to start figuring it out, because I know we normally like the PTA, what I guess that's also something to talk to the school about, because we would normally like, you know, end of the year celebrations, what do those look like, and what can the PTA do for that? Or just not asking the question, but more like telling them what the PTA is planning for that, so people are realizing that we're trying to make this still a great experience for our graduating children and all those fun things. All right.
I know last year PTA, I believe, provided the yard signs for our fifth graders moving on to Lakewood, or to middle school, I should say. So that's probably something that we may consider again. Bridget, if you'll talk to the upper team about that. It was a lot of fun to deliver those to the families and put them in the yards. I think that that's something that, you know, I wish we didn't have to do, guys. Again for the second year, but I think it really had an impact, and it was nice to make that connection with families. So things like that, I think our PLCs can go ahead and generate ideas on what we can do, not just for our fifth graders, but maybe for all of our students moving forward. Just some kind of something, right? Whether it's in supply pickup, or whether we move to a drive-through event, possibly with staff spaced out, you know, waving at people going through carpool to pick up things. So those are all things that I think that we could get excited about and have some sense of end of year celebration. You know, I'm visioning a big balloon like rainbow over carpool. That could be fun, right? I don't know, but yeah.
I like that. I do. I wonder. Like, I remember. I kind of remember my favorite. One of my things I still have from my fifth grade graduation, is like T-shirts. Like class of, I guess it's 2021. Oh wow, I feel old. Now, and so it's like maybe the PTA buys. What is it? There aren't that many kids. It's like 60 or 50 something T-shirts for our exiting fifth graders, that we can put in maybe like in a bag and put together something for them, like with, I guess, their certificate and everything to be delivered to them. Is something I think PTA funds would be well used for, and maybe like just sharing with the membership that, hey, these are our ideas so that we can honor our exiting students, and these are some of the fun things that we're thinking about for even all of our students as they move on. I know, like, because even moving up ceremonies are going to be different this year, and just ways to make things fun, and bring a bit of normalcy. So
I can't remember, was there anything, sorry, it's about to be noisy. Was there anything for last year's graduating fifth graders? The signs were wonderful. Was there anything like a Zoom celebration or drive-through or anything? I'm sorry, I don't remember this.
We did do a drive-through last year. I think Zoom celebrations were like class specific rather than entire grade level. But we might build on that this year. I think that's a cool possibility.
We did the baby picture thing last year. Wasn't that level wise? Yeah, that was kind of. right, Amanda? Yeah.
And it was super fun for parents and to see that and watch it with the kids.
Right.
Yeah, that 5th grade celebration, we tried to echo the spirit of our in-person kind of celebrations. So I agree, the baby picture is a huge hit, right? And I think the sweetest part of that whole thing was looking out in the gallery and seeing families huddled together on their couches watching it, and the reaction of those families. That was sweet. So that's something I think that Upper's still planning on doing. But if we can even be more proactive about, whatever. Now this year we can plan for it, right? Last year it was we didn't know. So that was sweet, and very special.
Awesome. Well, if anyone has any ideas, 'cause I don't actually know who would be in charge of this in terms of the PTA thing. You can send ideas just to the board group, and we'll figure out who will take ownership of this eventually. And then the next thing is Black History Month. If Joanna, do you want to give an update for what's going on there?
Yeah, I'm kind of just the middleman. I know a lot of stuff, but I'm not really doing anything. Nell Cordones has taken the lead, and she said the school has a committee, and they've decided to do a project where kids are drawing portraits, and then she's creating a virtual bookshelf. And then Wellness Wednesday, I coordinated, Megan Pollard had some Duke students that we then forwarded them on to Amber Crispell, and I think they're doing some things on Wellness Wednesday that they're gonna, have options for kids to jump in and hear these stories that way. But then Rachel, if you want to talk about what you're doing, or I can share for you, but
go
Rachel
ahead.
Oh, come on.
Sorry, again, gonna get noisy here. There's the idea that had been percolating for a while of a scavenger hunt. So Meg Weehee and Joanna and Megan Pollard. Anyway, we kind of just made an unofficial little subcommittee to put that together. And I think it's looking like it's in pretty good shape. So the idea is that each, for the first 3 weekends in February, there would be a different location. I don't know if scavenger hunt is exactly the right word, but I can't think of anything better to describe it. But basically, there'll be an information packet that you can access online, or we're going to try to have print copies available at the supplies pickup. And you can pick those up, and each weekend it'll have a different location. Like the first one is Black Wall Street, and the second one, the civil rights mural by the Durham Arts Council. I shouldn't give them away because it's supposed to be smart. Anyway, so the idea is that you there are pictures of what you're looking for. You go read the plaques, learn history. There are links for more information, engage with questions. And then if kids and families can take photos of themselves, we're going to have a way for them to upload photos to show that they participated. And maybe that will spur sort of community dynamic engagement, something. So I think I'm super excited that we're doing this specifically for Black History Month. I'm also excited from a family involvement perspective as an activity that people can do, in community, but not actually with each other, and can kind of jump off, a conversation to jump off of.
And Bree had lots of ideas because there's gonna be a gift basket for the families who participate in the scavenger hunt and upload pictures or guests or whatever. I'm Rachel worked that all out. They'll get a gift basket with all these things, hopefully supporting Black companies and businesses, and books or a shirt or something, where it's gonna be awesome. Everybody's gonna want it. But from the school's end, I don't know. So Amanda or any of the other teachers, if you've heard, or even Patty, if you know more about the school's end of it, I just know that Nell had been coordinating something and wanting to reach out to teachers to get them to share these stories in the classroom. And I don't know if
So
applies or what.
Yeah, each grade level has a representative on the, I think it's like the Culture and Climate Committee. I don't know, they may have technically a different name. But yeah, we've been talking about it in grade level, and Kate Harris is our representative, and she's sharing all the resources that they're compiling kind of as they roll them out. Each class is basically picking a person that they want to research, and we're also trying to tie it in with DPS's Black History Month focus, which is really around character traits. So we're kind of tying that all in together.
Anything else before we move on from Black History Month?
I think Nell had emailed me that we're still short on readings. And so Ms. Bates had sent out like a link for people to upload books on. So I think you can talk to your friends and encourage them to record themselves reading a book. It's not too late. It would be great though, if we can get Ms. Bates to send that email out again, probably.
Is that something I should send to, I kind of missed it the first time around. Should I send that to room parents? Is it too late if there's like a few day gap, as there often is, just because like of the nature of the system? Is it too late for that?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it ever made its way to the listserv. Did it?
Oh, really? Wasn't personal? It wasn't a personal email, was it? I thought it was through the PTA, no?
I have no clue. I don't remember seeing it, but maybe.
You didn't see it?
Maybe.
Oh, was I supposed to do something? Guys, I shouldn't be in charge of anything. Did I do something wrong? Let me look it up.
No, you're fine. I totally, like, I know at one point I was emailed about it, and I was like, because people had been forwarding me things to send to the listservs, and I was telling people that here's how you send things to the listserv. And I just don't know if it ever got sent, not through me, because I was saying, hey, I maybe not the right person. So if they have questions, they can email you directly and not email me, because I don't know. And so I think that I don't know if that ever got sent.
I feel like I saw it there.
Follow up on.
I think I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw the email.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I encourage everyone on here to maybe find a book and read it and upload it. We're all here and we all know about it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Joanna and Rachel, for doing that. And Rachel, I'm also going to turn this back over to you so you can talk about family involvement.
Cool. So teacher appreciation ideas are always welcome. Bria had some great ideas in the fall, and I think that they worked really well, but especially the teachers and staff members who are on the call. If you have any ideas, if you've heard people say, it'd be really nice if something, you can send it to me. I'm sure Bria will come up with like awesome future ideas, but we just want to, show our thanks to you all in a way that is like best for you. So if there's any input, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be asking Bria for more fantastic ideas. But to that end, Bria, is there anything that you need me to do for the funds transfer? So background being, I think we talked about this maybe a little bit at the last board meeting, but I definitely front loaded some of the expenditures in the family involvement line item earlier in the school year because, obviously we couldn't be doing things like Morale Monday and the things that we often do to show teachers appreciation and staff members appreciation. So things ended up being a little more expensive than they would have been in a typical year, but it felt like that was, the right thing to do and the right time to be spending that money. So Bria, is there anything that I need to do in order to prep for the membership meeting where we'd be voting on moving some funds? Is that how it would be?
So we'd have to vote tonight to move it from a specific line item.
I would like.
So I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to look at looking at the budget to see where you are and where is family involvement?
I can't say for sure, but I want to say I've spent a little over half, maybe like closer to
$669. You sent $669 and you have $1150 budget.
Right. And this and I guess the idea being besides like, you know, probably a couple smaller efforts between now and Teacher Appreciation Week, since Teacher Appreciation Week won't be able, I think it's historically, I wasn't in this role in the past, but I think historically some of that has been donated separately, not necessarily bought, but I think some of like the restaurant food maybe. So I think in order to do Teacher Appreciation Week in a, you know, fabulous and appreciated way, having a little more funds available would be helpful. That's my pitch.
Yeah. So right now you have a little less than $500 left in your budget, and what number are you comfortable with? Because I would say we could move another $600 or into that account for teacher for the rest of the year.
I'd be very satisfied with that if other people felt like that was appropriate.
I'm looking at what we haven't spent money on this year, which anyone else feel free. I'm just staring at a budget right now, which I can also share if need be. That way, that might actually be easier. 1 second. Okay. Yes. So right now we have money that we could take it. I don't know. Montessori conference, I think we talked about, because it's not going to be $2,000 this year because no one's actually traveling. I think it's a virtual conference, and nothing else from there can be touched. I would move to take it out of the Montessori conference or the or we could technically do classroom expend technology, because none of that's been touched either, which is odd. But I also think it's because they provided Chromebooks to everyone this year, which is normally what that would be spent on.
Can it not?
If anyone has any thoughts.
From pandemic relief, is that a possibility?
Yeah, it can. It totally can. We can take it out of there too. I'm good with either. I'm good with any of those. I don't foresee us spending $9,000 in the pandemic relief fund, so I'm okay moving $600 from that fund.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, and this is a conversation I need to have with Patty as well, but because there's not travel for the Montessori conference, it might actually be a good opportunity for more teachers to attend. So I know that we should take it out of that line right now, and if it's only $600 or so, I think it should just come pandemic relief at this point.
That's totally fine. So the line is 5423, and your community involvement is 5202. So I need someone to motion that.
I move to transfer what you just said.
$600.
$600 from I can't see the numbers.
It's line 5423.
5423 to the family involvement. Am I allowed to do that as family involvement chair?
You can. 5202.
5202. Thank you.
Okay.
I second.
No problem.
I second.
Okay. It's been seconded by both Joanna and Amanda. All in favor, actually, before I do this, I need to make sure we have quorum before I'm just like, yeah, we can totally vote right now. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, okay, cool. We do. Sorry. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. That makes
Aye.
it easier.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome. So we will vote on that as a membership at our next meeting to do that. So just I'm making a note to that needs to be added to the agenda for there. Okay. Anything else with family involvement, Rachel, you want to touch on? Or that it?
If anyone just has ideas, I think y'all threw out a whole bunch of awesome thoughts about sort of end of year things that I know it will not only fall under family involvement purview, but so I'm excited to hear about those. But if anyone has ideas about other things we can be doing for community building, besides the things that we've mentioned, I know that Miss Marquez in the last meeting, she wrote in the chat something about like spirit days with school shirts, something like that. So if someone has, I like that idea. If anyone's like, oh my gosh, we should totally do that. So the kids can like all be wearing, or as many of them as have t-shirts can be wearing their shirts on a given day, like a wacky Wednesday or a whatever, Spirit Friday. Anyway, if you have ideas like that, if you like that idea and you'd like some movement on any of that, just let me know. I'm taking ideas.
Awesome. And I have a couple ideas for you that I'll send over to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Used. No problem. All right. And Sarah, are you ready to talk about grounds?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you all. I wanted to give you a heads up, give the board a heads up about what's been happening with conversations with DPS about the playground. And it occurred to me I should give just a very brief background about the playgrounds for families who are relatively new to the school. I've been sort of intimately involved with the playground since 2013, when a student at George Watts, who was then a second grader, a dear friend of my son's, died tragically, and the family dedicated his memorial funds to the school, which then turned into seed money for a playground project, which then blossomed and bloomed into a much larger playground renovation project that finished in 2016. As part of this project, we were able to partner with multiple community partners. We partnered with DPS, we partnered with the Ellerby Creek Watershed Association, with Durham City and Durham County, with the Trinity Park Neighborhood Association. And so we both through grant funding and other types of support in order to put in a new field, to pave the path, to put in the basketball court, to put in the rain gardens, the embankment slide, the Gaga pit. I think those are the main things that we did as part of that project. And Catherine Kill from Tributary was our designer and landscape architect who helped us with that project. Because it was such a big project, it triggered a permit, and we also had to put in stormwater control measures. And part of the permit involves having the rain gardens inspected every year. When the project was completed in 2016, the grounds committee, in conversation with DPS, so we were told by DPS that DPS is ultimately responsible for these annual inspections. DPS is ultimately responsible for caring for the rain gardens. But we as the PTA, the grounds committee, would do a good faith effort of maintaining them to the best of our capabilities, recognizing, of course, that we're a group of volunteer parents. And the PTA has held up that end of the bargain for the past 4 years. And DPS has, for the past 4 years, they've called for the inspections and they've paid for them. But just this past year, they gave us a heads up that A, they might not be willing to pay for the inspections moving forward, and B, that they also might not have any capacity to help with maintenance. Truth be told, they have been doing very little maintenance these past couple years. I mean, each year it's sort of been less and less, which of course makes sense. Budgets are really tight. But for them to sort of come right out and say, hey, we might not be able to help at all, And PTA, you might have to pay for these inspections. It was just really troubling. So Annie and I have been in conversation, and Patty also, we've been in conversation with DPS, and we've been trying to brainstorm sort of ideas for how best to sort of approach these new developments. Specifically, given that this was such a big community sort of effort and partnership, to do this playground project, we've been talking to our community partners, and I think we've come up with some good ideas that we're pursuing. One thing of note is that when the inspections happened in October, DPS did pay for them, so they didn't ask us to do it. And we need clarity moving forward about whether or not they will continue to do that or not. But it was at least a relief that they didn't actually make us pay for it in the fall. So there's a couple things about this. I mean, one thing is that we're not the only school that has these, that has rain gardens. And so while George Watts is a little bit unique regarding the scope of our playground, we're not unique in that this is an issue for other schools. And so in talking to some of our partners who want to partner in other schools and who are partnering in other schools, so right now Ellery Creek Watershed Association is helping EK Capo with putting in a rain garden on their playground. There's a real opportunity here to, I think, create some sort of model within DPS for how to care for these rain garden structures across the district, not just with us. So this could be like a much bigger conversation, and I don't want to like monopolize our time, other than to say like we're generating, we do have some positive leads for how maybe to approach maintenance on the playground moving forward. And I'll just name one of those leads that seems like it has a lot of potential, involves utilizing a program that already exists. It's not technically a Durham Public Schools program, but it's a program that partners with Durham Public Schools. It's called the Betsy program. It's run by the county, but it provides summer internships for Durham Public School high school students, most of whom are not on a college track. So it provides vocational training on rain garden installation and maintenance. So this program, this Betsy program, is always looking for sites to do work, to get hands-on training. So a lot of the conversations that we're having, both with the Betsy program and with DPS, is to see to what extent could the student program sort of be operationalized within Durham Public Schools. So that would be a win-win. Durham Public Schools currently doesn't have the capacity or bandwidth to do this maintenance, but here's this program with these students that could give them training. So maybe that's a way, if we can sort of fundraise to help get this high school student internship program operationalized within DPS, that might be a way forward in order to maintain these sites. So we're coming up with these ideas, but they're not, we don't have firm solutions yet. And we just wanted to bring up, just like inform you where things are sort of in our conversations with DPS, recognizing that sort of the issue of playground maintenance sort of is a pressing one, knowing that DPS isn't ultimately there to support it, at least in the short term. And also recognizing that to date, sort of playground maintenance has been successful because we've had a really dedicated core group of volunteer parents, but those folks are not going to be around forever. And so Annie and I are also concerned what happens when those parents move on and there's not a continued set of folks who are really, really dedicated to it. So Annie and I are also really wanting to get some sort of system in place. So when it is time to move on, we can give folks a plan to say, here's how sort of the upkeep of this playground can be manageable through these sorts of programs without the burden having to fall too heavily on parents. So I think I'll just pause there. Patty, do you want to, did I miss anything? Or are there other things to highlight as part of this?
I just think the sustainability of this is important to really talk about. I know that we're going to have a brief overview during our SIT retreat this month. Yes, it's February 1st this month. And so just looking at exploring the sustainability, we do not want DPS to come in and bulldoze the projects that are in place and to kind of rip apart the things that are going on to put in something functional and easier to maintain for DPS. You know, that would kind of hurt my heart knowing what the playground looked like before and now what it looks like with all the lush growth and the ponds doing what they need to be doing and the systems in place. So I think really looking at sustainability and how do we manage that either through Friends of Watts, Trinity Park Association, and just working together with our PTA as well. So.
Yeah, and thanks, Patty, for that, because that's a helpful thing to say. I mean, in our conversations with DPS, they did throw out, you know, hey, PTA, if you can't maintain it, then what we'll do is we'll come in and do some sort of solution that doesn't require maintenance. What was continually brought up is the idea of digging a giant, installing a giant cistern underground. Which it's hard for us to fathom that they would actually do that because it seems so expensive. But if they're thinking about, you know, 25, 50, 100 years, a giant cistern in the ground that requires no maintenance on a really long time scale would be cost effective. And I think that's what they might move in that direction. So so we're trying to think creatively about how to avoid that, because I mean, for multiple reasons, but one of which is that the rain gardens provide a really unique, I think, learning opportunity for students, and they provide learning opportunities in lots of ways, not only for students, for the community. So it would just be a real shame, you know, to undo all of it. But of course, I'm personally invested in that too. And Annie and I both recognize, like, at the end of the day, if that's the best thing to happen, you know, that's okay, it'll happen. But we would like to try to come up with some out of the box solution, not only for our playground, but for other playgrounds across the district or other grounds across the district that would provide learning opportunities both for students and then also for these high school students who could get solid vocational training that we think that there's a real need for in the community.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm really excited about this. And I think that there definitely needs to be money put towards this. My husband worked with the Betsy program and led the interns for a long time.
Awesome,
so I'm very
yeah.
familiar with all the projects that happened at DPS. But I would love to just be a part of that conversation, just from the fundraising side.
Sure.
Just to kind of hear what your thoughts are and just to hear about all these other fundraising avenues that are kind of being discussed that I really have never even heard of. I think that sort of transparency to our membership would be helpful too. So I would love to be a part of this because I think like it needs to be budgeted for. And planned for. And so hopefully whenever we start our 21-22, is that right? budget, like you're at the table so we can like have a good estimate, you know, because I'm happy to help fundraise for this. I think it's so important, you know.
Thanks. Yeah, and it seems like there's sort of short to medium term planning that needs to happen, but also long-term planning. Like over the long term, like the goal would be that either DPS raises money or they are able to get grant money to fund Betsy in a way that Betsy could be deployed across the system. So Annie and I worry about, and we want to be really thoughtful about doing this in such a way that promotes equity rather than threatens it. So that's part of the conversation we want to have too. We want to help generate some sort of sustainable model for the district, not just for our site.
Yeah, and I mean, even if we were to move forward with like a needs assessment to the membership next year before we design our budget, I'm 100% sure. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I feel most parents would support the playground project as being something that they would love to spend their money on. And so, I mean, as far as like fundraising goes, like just that transparency, like I just want to have with our membership, you know, you guys vote on what we need to spend our time and resources on, you know, and then we'll do that, you know, and I'm sure parents would say that the grounds are important. I think they are. So just let us know how we can help too.
Yeah, thank you. The other thing I will say is that part of what Annie and Patty and I've been thinking about are, you know, tapping into sources like the Trinity Park Neighborhood Association, who maybe doesn't typically give a lot of money to the school, but clearly benefits from having the playground in the community, to try to get money from them, because we worry about tapping out families who are asked to give a lot year after year. And in the grand scheme of things, grounds are important, but it's not important as all the other stuff that happens at the school. So we really want to honor and respect that and try to, you know, not threaten fundraising avenues for the bread and butter work that the PTA needs to do.
I don't know, Sarah, if you see in the chat, but you have Bridget and Amanda put in some good ideas, I think, things to consider.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. I'll look at that. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Bridget. Our next step is just a reminder for the nominating committee. So right now, I think we're looking at a couple positions being open, one of which being my position. Wow, I didn't think this was going to be hard. So I've made a decision to step down after this year, just because doing it in a pandemic is a little bit different. It's something that I'm like, okay, cool. I did it. You're good. Next year probably won't be back to normal. And it's something that I can come back to if I ever feel like it. You can do 2 years. You can do, they're 1 year terms, so you can do them twice. They don't have to be consecutive. And so just wanted to put that out there that I am not going to be in this role next year. And so, wow, I really didn't think I would get emotional saying this. But that being said, we're going to need to find someone who wants to be president. It can be someone on this call currently. If that is your journey, please let me know. I've had so much fun doing this, but it's also, again, this year has been a little crazy, slightly. And so I just think it's time for me to take a small break and focus on some other things. I know we also need a vice president and a treasurer and EC committee chair, a family involvement chair, and another fundraising chair, maybe. That's a Megan. A Megan.
No, please.
Yeah. A Latino Families Committee, and also a Parents of African American Children Committee chair. So we got a lot of holes to fill. If you all could be thinking of people, it's hard for me because I actually have really only been at Watts a year and a half at this point, but like most of that has been virtually, so I don't know a lot of the parents still. Like I was at Watts all of 6 months before the pandemic happened. And so I met a few people, but not a lot. So if you all know people, because you might be better, especially if you live in the neighborhood of Trinity Park, which I don't. I live near South Point. It would be great if you all can like start kind of getting some feelers out, because the PTA has to have a president, also has to have a treasurer in order to run. Those are our bylaws. And so, and a vice president, all of those three they're like 100% needs for us. And I want to make sure that that we transition well. I don't ever want to like leave something worse off than I came into it. So I would really like that if we leave things well and we try our hardest to find people to take over these roles. And I'm going to send out an email to the listserv soon with all of these roles, so that if people, maybe they're shy and they're like, they also don't know anyone, but they're being willing to like step up. that would be great. But yeah, that's that update. And anyone else want to surprise me and be like, I'm also going to step down?
No, but you are amazing, and I needed to say that out loud. I send you lots of hearts for all the work you're doing, and you do get to do it for 2 years, and I'll be nominating you in like 2 years for you to do it again. But yeah, I'm working on my own replacement because I have some other things going on next year also. So we'll still be here and can jump in from time to time, but yeah, I gotta start talking it up. It'll be an exciting thing to join the PTA board next year, right?
Yeah. And it's also something where I'm okay not stepping down from the board totally. The president role is a lot more nuanced than even just like 1 or 2 monthly meetings. There's a lot that goes on, and that's something that I think I just need a bit of a break from, especially with potential continued pandemic. So it might be that I'm your vice president next year. Don't know. Or Megan said that she could be the vice president. I see that. That's also fine. And so I just wanted to put that out there. The next thing on our list to do is talk about the listserv policy. Okay, let me go back to not crying, and let's see if I can find it. So really, we talked last time about our listserv policy, and I shared it, and I just wanted to do like almost like a second reading so that we can go over it if we see anything that still needs to be changed. I think this is it. Okay, let me share this with you all. Let me share this. All right, so this is what we came up with when Bethany and Megan were gracious enough to meet with me. Things in orange are things that were changed. Changed or added, really. We didn't really, and so this one is if your message is not approved, a moderator will contact you to discuss why. That's something that me and Emily have been putting into practice already. Emily Daly, last year's president, is one of our moderators. Bethany has also agreed to be a moderator, so I just need to add her onto that. But we do need to have, and then me and Kim also have access to moderate, because if you see the listserv, we'll have at least 2. So we need at least 2 people to have moderation access. Right now, we currently have 3, about to be 4. But that's just so that sometimes one of us gets busy and that things don't sit in the queue too long. And so that's good. And also good to be able to bounce things off of someone. This was the big one that was really got added is if messages seem offensive, they may be moderated and not passed through. If messages are intended for a specific staff, teacher, administration, please communicate with them directly on the listserv. And even if your message is posted, it may not receive a response. So I think the first part of that being things that are just out of line won't be posted. Whether that's through language or whatever, things that are should be addressed to a teacher. Like if someone who's like, why isn't this happening? Can someone tell me why? I'm going to use Amanda because I know her. Why Miss Watson's class is doing this? I'm like, well, you should probably ask Miss Watson that and not put it on the listserv. We've had a couple of those even in the past week that were more like questions for administration. And so we were like, you should contact administration, or questions for SIT, the school improvement team. And we're like, this is where that goes. And so, and then just adding that even if your message is posted, it may not receive a response, because we do have things get through the listserv and then people are like, oh, did it email me? And be like, did it go through? Because no one has emailed me back, and realizing that like not every post is going to get a response from someone. We added in that the only commercial promoting happens is things that are sponsored by the PTA or through PTA partnerships. So like when we did Two Roosters, I think that's the name of the ice cream place, that would have been an allowed post because it was benefiting the PTA. But you can't sell Girl Scout cookies through the PTA listserv. That came up like 2 weeks ago. They just because it's not fair, and also it means it takes liability away from us about things that get sold over the listserv. No political campaigning. That's endorsing candidates. You can be used for advocacy though, so it can be used for like, here's an issue, call your representative about how you feel about this issue type of thing, but it can't be like, go vote this way on this one thing. I think should be clear here. And it's mostly because we are part of us being a 501c3 is that we agreed to be nonpartisan. We are a nonpartisan nonprofit organization. Say that 5 times fast. Copyright material is pretty normal. Naming individuals, don't name people in your things, especially in a negative way. I mean, you can like be like, I just want to give a shout out to someone, like that's fine. But just not being like, I don't like if I can't go on list of like, I don't like Joanna, and let me tell you why. Like, we're just not gonna I love you, Joanna, so I can do this. That's the image. And if there's a specific issue with a certain person, please communicate to them. We just don't want it to become like this pile on, which we saw kind of happening at the very beginning, where like one negative thing spirals and it just becomes a lot. Avoid speculation. Don't post messages with information that might not be true or might only be partially true. Trying to just avoid the spirit of like gossip on the listserv and panic that can ensue from sharing things that aren't totally true. And then we changed, this was the golden rule, but we just changed it to just kind of be a little more to assume the best in each other's comments and try to disagree in a friendly and respectful manner. Communicate with the PTA board if you feel you've been violated in any way on the listserv. And so that's just, people know that they can come to us if they feel like the listserv has like targeted them or harmed them in any way. And we can, as a board, decide what to go there. And then I highlighted this week because me and Emily talked about this, the use of reply and reply all. Trying to encourage people to not use reply all when it's only like, I agree, because then it just clouds up, like then you're getting like 15 emails that are like saying, I agree with this, and that's it. So really stressing that you use the reply all function when it's helpful to the entire listserv and not just as a way to like continue to just show support for something. And I think that's it. Yeah, we just added, there were 2 different posts that were like, here's how you change your subscriber options. And then there was another one that's how you get the frequency of your messages. So we just combined those 2. That was a lot. All right. Any thoughts on that?
Looks good.
Okay.
I appreciate the effort that went into that, Bria. I know that we've been talking about it. I think it's really important for all of our stakeholders to feel safe whenever they're communicating through this. And the importance of this is how either side responds, whether it's a staff member saying something and parents respond one way, or whether it's parents saying something and staff responds one way. So I definitely have seen a lot of things play out. I like the gossip panic that you just said. I see it all the time, right? And I think that you've certainly witnessed it firsthand. So I appreciate this important work that you've put into this. And I know that people are drifting out. It's late at 7, but this is truly important work that moving forward can have everyone feel safe to communicate. So thank you.
I think, do we still, I don't know if we have quorum anymore because I think some people left. So I'm going to send this out because we can't approve it if we don't have, I think our quorum's 9. And Kristen and Meg count as one person, and Anna and Bethany count as one person. So we don't have quorum anymore. So I'm going to send this out, and I'm going to send out a doodle poll, or I'm going to send this out and ask for a motion, and then I'm going to ask for a second, and then we can vote on it through a doodle poll that way, and have them go into effect. Okay, two more topics, but they're super fast. NC Green Power. I don't remember if anyone remembers last year. That was it was an awesome parent who I cannot remember his name. I think it's Dibble is maybe the last name. He filled out a grant to get, I think, was it solar power or wind power? I really need to read, I can't remember now. Onto the school. I think a solar powered panel onto the school. And it was in the playground. It would have been in the playground. And last year, I think they were asking that the PTA commit to raise, I think, like $4,000 to $8,000. But the grant didn't go through. And so then he asked, but we agreed last year that we would be fine doing this. And then they sent it again. They wanted to try again. And so it would still be the PTA would be on the hook for, I think, $8,000. But I need to check that number. If this went through eventually. And so he is moving forward with the grant because it's not like binding. So he's just starting to fill things out. But it is something that the PTA would need to agree to eventually if it went through. And so I will also send you all that information so you can look over and we can have a discussion through email about that, because right now I don't have that piece of paper in front of me and I don't want to give you all wrong information. But I just want to update, check your emails for that because it should be coming. And then the other thing I wanted to do is remind you of the SIT retreat is the 15th of February. And so it's something that, I mean, normally in a normal year, we would go have dinner with SIT and do a lot of things, not quite this year, but it is something, I think it's going to be informative, and it's something that I encourage everyone to attend. I will be attending. And yeah, Joanna will be attending because she's on SIT. And I think I encourage anyone to attend the SIT meeting retreat this February. Within 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Awesome. March calendar entries need to be submitted by February 20th. Pay your PTA membership dues if you haven't already. And then, as always, you can submit a reimbursement to me or Teddy. And if you need to fill out an SPNR request, they are on our website. The forms are. So I think that's it. Anything anyone needs to add before we wrap up?
Great job.
Awesome. Well, have a good night, everyone. And I will see you all. Hopefully it's it. If not, March 1st is our next PTA board meeting.
Actually, I could pay her money.
Hey, Bria, how many people zoomed in or streamed the meeting? Do you know, or can you see that? I'm curious.
Let's see. Right now it says 7.
Good. Okay. Thank you again for doing that. I think in the future, this is really helpful. So thank you, Bria. You guys have a good night.
Thanks, Bria. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's see.
What are you crying? You can't cry.
Girl, I don't know.
You're
I'm
still
just an emotional
streaming.
person. Oh, sorry.